Welcome back. CNN's Arlette Saenz joins me from Wayne, Michigan. Arlette, we are waiting for President Biden to arrive on the picket line. What are you hearing from your sources?
Well, Dana, President Biden landed here in the Detroit area about an hour ago, in the last half hour, and is making his way towards meeting with striking workers. Now, the White House has not detailed specifically where President Biden will be. They've cited security concerns about having him at an active picket line. But what they have said is that he will be here in Wayne County, Michigan, and he is expected to appear with the UAW President Shawn Fain. Now, we saw President Biden as he arrived at the airport a short while ago, where he was greeted by not just Fain, but also some Congress members, including Debbie Dingell and Rashida Tlaib, as well as the state's lieutenant governor. And President Biden, while he was on that tarmac, was asked by a reporter what he thinks it will take to earn the UAW's endorsement. The union has yet to endorse in the 2024 presidential race. President Biden responded that he's not worried about that at this moment. Now, what the president and the White House have said is that he is focused on trying to show solidarity for these striking workers, really marking a historic moment. There has never been a sitting president to appear on an active picket line in the middle of intense negotiations. Now, the White House has walked an incredibly fine and delicate line as these negotiations have played out. They don't have any legal authority to be party directly to the negotiations, but the president has tried to lend his support since the strike started. What the White House has refrained from doing, though, is weighing in on any specific demands that the UAW is seeking at this time. But of course, this is all presenting a pretty phenomenal split screen in the 2024 race, as President Biden is here today and former President Donald Trump is set to appear in the Detroit area tomorrow. It comes as both men are trying to make their pitch to those working class voters. The White House has said that they didn't plan this trip because Trump was coming here, that the president is focused on talking to those workers. But they do try to make this contrast between the policies that President Biden has put into place and what former President Trump put in place when he was in office. So we are still waiting to see when exactly President Biden will arrive at this picket line, a historic moment, as he would be the first sitting president to be side by side walking those picket lines during an active strike against auto companies.
This is the reason why people like Shama Sawant, even Cornel West now, the Party for Socialists and Liberation, this is why we all say that labor is never going to get their just due, their real just due, as long as they're alongside teaming up with the Democratic Party. And this first story sort of talks about that too, because Shawn Fain, Joe Biden goes to the picket line of the UAW. And I think he's in Michigan, but he says he's going to go, and he goes today, Tuesday, because literally Donald Trump had announced he's going on Wednesday, going to have a rally in opposite or in contrast to the GOP debate, which we will be covering here on RBN. So because Donald Trump announced that, then we had this. Now, there's a couple of things I want to say here. Shawn Fain, he is very good on camera. He says a lot of the great things we want to be said. I believe he was pushed to be even more radical because of people like Will Leeman, which is a candidate that ran against him to be president, and he's a Marxist. So, and it was very close. So he kind of was pushed to be radical. So it was kind of radicalized because this was a very recent, a newly elected president right when this thing is coming up. So that's what we're sort of seeing in the reflection, as sort of reflected in the interviews. Very strong rhetoric, and giving him the benefit of the doubt, because I don't trust union leaders. Union leaders are most times not part of the working class. They're part of the 1%ers. They're not making what they're making. Like the things they're advocating for in these contracts, they make far and above that already. And we saw a few signs about Shawn Fain and in some of the rhetoric he would say about the two candidates. Of course, Donald Trump is terrible with labor, but when it came to Joe Biden, he would just abstain. Yes, our our endorsement has to be earned. That sounds great. So it's just basically abstaining instead of saying, well, Joe Biden actually broke a strike, the rail strike. My union brothers in spirit, not union, they're not in the same union, but union brothers, all of us are in a brotherhood or sisterhood or humanhood. So let's get back. Let's listen to this video. And I guess I need to rewind it a little bit so it can preface the segment, even though we saw it in the beginning. Yeah, let's listen to this again. And then I have a couple of receipts to bring up, a couple of articles and some other items here. So let's listen.
Welcome back. CNN's Arlette Saenz joins me from Wayne, Michigan. Arlette, we are waiting for President Biden to arrive on the picket line. What are you hearing from your sources?
Well, Dana, President Biden landed here in the Detroit area about an hour ago, in the last half hour, and is making his way towards meeting with striking workers. Now, the White House has not detailed specifically where President Biden will be. They've cited security concerns about having him at an active picket line. But what they have said is that he will be here in Wayne County, Michigan, and he is expected to appear with the UAW President Shawn Fain. Now, we saw President Biden as he arrived at the airport a short while ago, where he was greeted by not just Fain, but also some Congress members, including Debbie Dingell and Rashida Tlaib, as well as the state's lieutenant governor. And President Biden, while he was on that tarmac, was asked by a reporter what he thinks it will take to earn the UAW's endorsement. The union has yet to endorse in the 20.
That sounds like somebody that's out there, or a organization or a news cast that's concerned about what the workers are want. If there was no election, this guy would not be out there. Does anybody believe that? Does anybody believe that not only if it was an election, that if Trump was not going down there, do anybody believe that this would ever happen? Why would he wait to announce the go? Why would he pick a day before? Because he had to take away Trump saying, I got here first. And one thing that's sort of tipping me off about this guy, Shawn, is when he hears about Donald Trump coming, he sends an invitation to Joe Biden so that he can make sure he comes and get here before, so he can have the photo op first. That's suspicious. That's a little suspicious to me. So let's continue, though.
2024 presidential race. President Biden responded that he's not worried about that at this moment. Now, what the president and the White House have said is that he is focused on trying to show solidarity for these striking workers, really marking a historic moment. There has never been a sitting president to appear on an active picket line in the middle of intense negotiations. Now, the White House has walked an incredibly fine and delicate line as these negotiations have played out. They are not they don't have any legal authority to be party directly to the negotiations, but the president has tried to lend his support since the strike started. What the White House has refrained from doing, though, is weighing in on any specific demands
of course not.
That the UAW is seeking.
And that, to me, is where we would be able to say this guy is actually for the union. Simply showing up for pictures and videos and saying, I'm with you, a very vague, broad statement, instead of saying that 40% you want, let's get that. That, pension you want for so-and-so, let's get that. Tears, get out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what you should be doing if you're here in solidarity. Solidarity, don't let the professional managerial class co-op solidarity. Solidarity in no way means unity. So just showing up to say, I back you, but I'm not going as far as to back the demands, that's not solidarity. Showing up to say, I'm here in solidarity at a defund the police rally. I'm here in solidarity with you guys for defund the police, but I'm not for defunding the police. Does that make sense? Doesn't make any sense. Yet, that is only the threshold to show up, apparently, for people like Shawn Fain. But let's listen.
at this time. But of course, this is all presenting a pretty phenomenal split screen in the 2024 race, as President Biden is here today and former President Donald Trump is set to appear in the Detroit area tomorrow. It comes as both men are trying to make their pitch to those working class voters. The White House has said that they didn't plan this trip because Trump was coming here, that the president is focused on talking to those workers. But they do try to make this contrast between the policies that President Biden has put into place and what former President Trump put in place when he was in office. So we are still waiting to see when exactly President Biden will arrive at this picket line, a historic moment, as he would be the first sitting president to be.
This word, I talked about it in every stream, so this is going to be something I'm going to have to be talking about a lot. The word historic is one of the most used propaganda words in politics. Historic. That is a very loaded word that has a connotation that most Americans is going to run with, that the speaker is not meaning. And let me play it again. Just play the where she uses it, the word historic. Listen to this.
President Biden has put into place and what former President Trump put in place when he was in office. So we are still waiting to see when exactly President Biden will arrive at this picket line, a historic moment, as he would be the first sitting president to.
That's it. If I gave you a penny for 50 years and then on year 51 I give you 2 pennies, it's historic. The 2 pennies, I don't need to describe it's only 2 pennies. I just say I've given you an historic amount. It's the truth if you go technically with the word, but it's a loaded word. It makes people think, yeah, he's really for labor, and he's not. He just broke a strike, people. And do we think that if this strike was covered by the same legislation, do we think he would not be breaking this strike? Is that what we believe? When she says he has no power, what do you mean? Power to break the strike? Is that what you mean, lady? So, but let me bring up the article here. Biden to visit picket lines to bolster UAE apparatus and its portrayal of auto strike. I'll read here. U.S. President Joe Biden will be visiting the picket lines of striking auto workers in Michigan on Tuesday. In the media, Biden's tourist stop is being presented as an unprecedented and historic, and you hear it said tourist stop. Love it. Unprecedented and historic statement of support for a sitting U.S. president for workers. In reality, it is an effort to bolster an increasingly discredited U.S. auto worker president, Sean Fain, lend credibility to his stay on the job strike and facilitate a sellout of the workers. Biden's trip follows Fain's announcement of the expansion, in quote unquote, of the auto worker strike on Friday. In a strike that has been characterized by unprecedented lying and deceit from the apparatus, the latest maneuver takes the cake. Only another 5,600 workers were called out at GM and Stellantis parts distribution centers, which supply dealerships, not production facilities. No assembly line, engine, or other component plants are affected. So is this strategically being launched in order to have the least effect on the big three? Is that what we're seeing here with Sean Fain? Listen, no assembly, engine, or other component plant, none, are affected. And there will be virtually no impact on the profits of the companies, I should say. Even financial analysis expressed surprise at how ineffectual Fain's announcement was. The parts distribution workers joined workers at just 3 plants called out on September 15th. 88% of UAW workers in the big three remain on the job. Did you hear that? 88%. They are being told by the UAW to, quote, stand up and go back to work without a contract, often with forced overtime and with protections against management layoffs and victimization. Biden's trip also follows the fraudulent claim by the Unifor union in Canada Sunday that its tentative agreement covering 56 workers at Ford had been passed by a razor-thin margin of 54%. The contract was passed, quote unquote, in the most anti-democratic manner possible, with workers forced to vote after a tightly controlled Zoom meeting where they were given self-serving highlights of the agreement. There are reports of workers being unable to vote and of Unifor officials violating their own election rules by sending out last-minute emails to temporary workers. I'm going to skip past this part here because I want to get back to the Biden part. Biden's trip is intended to set the stage for the announcement of a historical deal at Ford. Did we catch that? Did we catch that part? Have you noticed in the news reports, if you listen closely, they always mention this little detail, how Ford was not included in the expansion. You know, the 5,600 more workers that went on strike, none of those included Ford plants because they know this is coming. This a so-called sellout contract by Ford, which will in fact be completely in line with the company's demand. Fain's announcement Friday that real progress had been made with Ford, whose parts distribution centers were excluded from Fain's expansion of the strike. A conspiracy is underway involving the UAW apparatus, corporate management, and the Biden administration, along with their counterparts in Canada, in opposition to the determination of rank and file workers to carry out a genuine struggle to reverse concessions and win real gains. Let's now, and maybe we'll come back to this in a minute, but let's now go back to the video and talk further about this complete co-opting of labor. And that's why the overarching graphic that I showed you earlier, using labor to push Democrats. Isn't that what we're seeing here with Shawn Fain? Because wait till I get to the speech that Shawn Fain, maybe I'll do that now. So let's do that now. Let's get to that speech that Shawn Fain gives about Joe Biden. So let me go there. Then I'll go to the Joe Biden speech here. This is it. So let's listen to this guy and how he is overplaying just this old guy with dementia showing up. Just showing up.
Moment. First time in our country's history.
Let me go back. Look at the co-opting of workers by a guy who literally broke a strike. Almost makes you want to vomit. Why is there no brotherhood, no sisterhood, no humanhood with your fellow union members like the rail strike? Why aren't you showing any solidarity with them by not having this strike-breaking clown show up and get a photo op, and then you say all of these great things about him, Mr. Fain? Okay, let's listen to Shawn.
You know, this is a historic moment. First time in our country's history that a sitting USA president has came out and stood on the picket line.
This guy broke a strike. Shawn Fain has managed to pull off having a strike breaker surrounded by workers who he is not in solidarity with their actual demands, just their essence of being out here. This is the image. This is why workers need a new party. Why? And this is going to bleed in to the debate with Ben Burgess and Nico House. Teaming up with the Democratic Party, you got sellouts like this. You get selling out of workers. Workers will never achieve what they should get by going through the blue team or the red team. I wonder if Bernie Sanders orchestrated this and his sellout ass. But let's continue with what he says here. Then I got a couple of other receipts and we'll move on.
Our president chose to stand up with workers in our fight for economic and social justice.
Did he? Just showing up. He chose to stand up. You know that soundbite? You know that's going to be in a commercial. That's going to be in a commercial. A commercial where people are still being sold the propaganda that this is the best labor president ever, or at least in modern times, the same guy who broke a strike. So, yeah, not sure about this guy, Sean. Let's continue.
It's a historic day, a historic moment in time. This is
That's just terrible. Well, let's listen to a couple of other clips, and then I want to get back to the other video, and I want y'all to listen to the roundtable. Maybe I'll do that next, because that's really actually. Let's listen to what actually he says, and understand this is more Perfect Union. They are a Democratic outfit. Understand that they're literally started by the guy, the Bernie Sanders campaign guy. Forget his name, Fahid, something like that. Let's listen to Joe.
Since 1973, but I tell you what. The UAW picket lines when I was a senator since 1973, but I tell you what, first time I've ever done it as a president. Oh, look, one thing is real simple, and it's very brief. The fact of the matter is that you guys, the UAW, you saved the automobile industry back in 2008 and before. Made a lot of sacrifices. You gave up a lot, and the companies were in trouble. But now they're doing incredibly well. And guess what? You should be doing incredibly well too. The simple problem. Stick with it, because you deserve the significant raise you need and other benefits.
Let's get it.
We'll get back what we lost, okay? Yeah. It's about time for them to step up for us. Now, there's a guy I know you don't know here, but I brought him along here anyway. Sean Payne, your president. Yeah.
Lots of vagueness, platitudes. You have the power of the bully pulpit. So the lady in the report is actually wrong. He does have power. If he came out and said, these workers should stay out here striking until they get exactly what they want, and this is what they want, and he lists these things, everything from the pensions all the way down to the 40% increase in pay that they want. That's what should happen if you were a president that was truly for those workers, which he's not. But we're going to fast forward here to the roundtable here. This is a doozy here, guys. Let me just tell you. All right, so let's listen to the roundtable. But towards the end of the roundtable, one of the panelists finally says it. She's like, come on, guys. This is a photo op. This is a campaign stop. Get out of here for Joe Biden. So one of them finally admits that let's stop playing games here. Okay. This is a campaign event. That's why he's here.
With workers, it is such a critical time and place for him to be doing that right now.
I mean, I think you see, as you said, in poll after poll, most Americans see that there's good economic opportunity out there, but they're not feeling it themselves. And so by going out to this picket line and by siding with the workers, what Joe Biden is saying is, look, there is profit in the American economy. Look, all these economic indicators are good. And if you're not feeling it yet, you should be. And it's these companies that you should be blaming and not necessarily Joe Biden. And so, look, again, he wants to, at his core, be defined as a union, working class Democrat. And so this is a moment where he can say, look, yes, the auto companies are making more money and they should be sharing it with their workers. And I think it's the same message that he can use to sort of attack, now maybe not in the same way that a Bernie Sanders would, but to put pressure on corporate America to say, look, you should be sharing some of the profits you're making with the working people.
Now, you see 5 different people up there. You know what, and you think, oh, 5 different people, five different opinions. I say no. That's 5 different people with the same opinion in the end. Nobody here is going to bring up the fact that Joe Biden actually broke a strike and this praise of him of being a labor president. But this is what I mean in the graphic here when I say using labor to push Democrats. This is sort of the new thing that the professional managerial class has picked up and they're going to try to use, and you're going to see it in the debate, like I said, with Ben Bridges and Nico House, the same thing, where they know, what can we do? How can we infiltrate these movements to push them to what we want it to come out and vote for them, and us pretend like we're down for them? This is it. And let's listen a little more to this conversation.
People.
It's
And
the
fact
blonde
that
with
Sean
the
Fain,
short
the head
hair
of
is the one that's going to
UAW
actually
was
say that
there,
stuff.
is noteworthy. They have not endorsed. And you heard at the beginning of the show, we talked about Donald Trump in one of his social media posts saying, please endorse me. The president today says, I'm not here to talk about endorsements, but he would be very happy if the UAW supported, because even though the union support as it relates to political support and boots on the ground, grassroots activism, maybe isn't what it was 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, but it still matters, particularly in places like Michigan, like Wisconsin, and other areas that are union rich.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a big statement for the president in his actions today, assuming he's going to be on this picket line. You know, he's not just showing up and speaking at people, from what we understand. He's going to be marching with them, which is a big sign of solidarity. And he did do this as a presidential candidate, but as a president showing up with your motorcade,
big sign of solidarity.
It's
to show
a
up
huge
for
statement to
ops.
literally put yourself shoulder to shoulder with workers and what they're facing.
I mean, what he's doing is he's out getting footage and ad material for his campaign. This is a photo shoot.
She's from PBS. What he's doing is going out and getting photos, guys. Let's stop playing games here. Love it. I'm gonna rewind it. That's what he's doing. Let's stop playing his games. What? Changing the world? What are you talking about? He's here for a photo op. Let's stop lying, guys. Let's listen.
Up with your motorcade, doing this, it's a huge statement to literally put yourself shoulder to shoulder with workers and what they're facing.
I mean, what he's doing is he's out getting footage and ad material for his campaign. This is a photo shoot, really, for his reelection campaign, and it'll play in Michigan. He has created more jobs in Michigan.
This is a photo shoot for his campaign, and that's essentially it. And didn't I say that when Sean Fain was speaking in the video? I said they're going to use this for a political ad. So the fight for fairness for workers is going to be co-opted by the blue team that broke a strike, and UAW leadership is completely fine with that. Terrible. All right, let me see if I have any other receipts. I was going to play a little more, but I think it tells the story enough. I don't think I need to play anymore. Let me see if there's one more receipt I did want to cover. Oh yeah, there is. Now, another candidate went to the picket line, I think several days before. I think this was a couple of days ago. And a lot of you that are here watching now support this candidate, or at least have affinity for him. And he's been on here many times. Here's Cornel West actually at the picket line. Cornel West. And let's listen to his appearance, and you tell me if this sounds close to what Joe Biden said while he was on the picket line. Let's listen.
Here we go. I want to say how blessed and honored I am to stand with my brothers and sisters of all colors here at UAW, because it's all about fighting corporate greed. It's all about defending human dignity. And it's all about affirming solidarity, because without solidarity, we'll be unable to meet the challenge of those at the top. That we want to make sure we don't divide the workers. We want to make sure the workers are always coming together, laughing together, loving together, struggling together. Sometimes we want to cry together. That's all right. Just stay together. And this is my dear brother Jeffrey. Hi, dog. Clear.
Yep.
Who's one of you leaders? Say whatever you want to say, brother.
My name is Jeffrey Purcell. I'm president here at Local 3039. I'm a Tier 2 employee, one of the youngest presidents in Mopar in the UAW. This is about us building solidarity. We got our Region 9A director here with us showing our solidarity. We have one of our Tier 1 personnel over here, Dre. This is my committee man showing solidarity. We have our servicing rep, Mark Barbie, showing solidarity. We have Tony Andino, one of our senior members here, showing solidarity. This is all about the solidarity and the unity of everybody. Our company is sitting here trying to create division between us and trying to break us apart. We're creating tiers and not trying to give us our equal fair share of pay. And our job here is to stand together. I'm glad Cornel West came out to show us love and joined in our solidarity with us. And we're here to fight for the long run. You know, we're going to do what we have to do to make sure we get what we deserve. So, as you see, it's been raining for the last 3 days. All right. Ponchos, whatever we got to do, we'll still be out here doing what we got to do. So, we appreciate him coming out and supporting us, and we're going to do what we have to do to get what we deserve. That's right.
Oh, that's Brother Jeff, younger generation, full of the same fire the UAW has always had at its best. All right.
So that's Cornel West, and he's with the workers, actual rank and file workers, and Joe Biden is with the bought out leadership, obviously. That's fine with him being used as a prop for Joe Biden to be considered some sort of labor presidential hero. And let's get a couple of reactions, then we'll close here. I'll get this gentleman here. It says, what a joke that politicians no longer have to try to help workers. They just have to show up for a photo op. So there are people that are not buying this. They know what this is. Here's Misty, Comrade Misty. Election season pandering is so fucking gross. Always classic bangers from Misty.